please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Where Are They Now? Kind of. Today we're going to be taking a look at the year of 2025 for Idubbbz. The reason why is because this year has been a year of steady decline, brought on by his own choices, approved by his wife of course, and how he has handled that decline has been quite fascinating. I made quite a number of videos on Idubbbz. Naturally I'm not going to play all of them, but we are going to go through the ones that stand out the most to absolutely demonstrate just how far he has fallen to where he is now, living in a basement in Canada somewhere where he undoubtedly has to get permission to pee from his husband, wife and her parents. Idubbbz came back with a new content cop. Now I didn't think he'd ever do one again because of who he is now, unless it was heavily politically skewed based on massive social change. I especially didn't think it would be against somebody that featured in his last content cop on Rice Gum, or Asian Jake Paul I believe he called him, and that's actually how I first heard of Rice Gum and of Idubbbz, because of that diss track. Does it not start with, I want to be gay because you're effed and I want to savour it? Yes, I remember buying it on the Apple Store in fact, because I thought it was that good. I found the Content Cop series to be highly entertaining, and it can still be argued to be entertaining to the right crowd. I am no longer that crowd, nor many of us for that matter, as his more recent victim is H3. Ethan Klein more notably. I believe Healer was mentioned by name a couple times, but then relegated to the wife. She was not best impressed by that, as I've seen the reaction. What I thought I'd do is go through a few clips from it, and also Ethan Klein's response and other people's response. Because people have an opinion, and some creators are large enough that maybe, their opinions carry some weight. The overarching opinion and perspective of this video is, it's not that great. The like to dislike is heavily divided. The comments are too for that matter, but it can't be denied because of the state of the views on his channel, owing to inactivity and his desperate attempt to make Creator Clash work. It's a bit of a success in that respect. But since this is the first content cop on his channel, because the others are gone, was it really worth it though? Or, to quote him from the diss track, did it feel good though? That's a quote from Rice Gum as well, isn't it? Yes, how quaint. This is an interesting one to go through. We'll go through first the moment Ethan found out about this, because he was live and did not know.
Well, what happened? There's more bad news?
I do have some more bad news for you. Some breaking news. Your old friend Idubbbz just released a video.
Yeah.
It's about you.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god. That is the... No, it can't be.
Well...
It actually can't be. Holy f... Dude.
It sure is.
Oh my god.
In case you couldn't tell, Ethan and Idubbbz haven't spoken in a while, and I don't think he expected. Although, to be honest, I kinda did. I think a few people had speculated in Klein on Twitter, and I agreed with them. Ethan's not on Twitter, so, you don't really get his opinion there, you get it on Instagram. But many people believed it would be Ethan because of the massive shift they have both taken in their lives, the fork in the road. Apparently it's Israel and Hamas. And yes, I'm going to say Hamas and not Gaza because I know there's a massive distinction what's going on right now, and it causes so much negativity. I'm going to take the side of David Draymond on this one, of Disturbed, who just wants dialogue. That's all I want to see. I want peace to be achieved, and I want Hamas to be eradicated, but I'm a bit too idealist on that one. If you haven't seen David Draymond of Disturbed on Twitter, he's remarkably mature. Well, these days anyway. Continuing with Ethan though.
Holy fuck.
And from a quick scrub through, I think, well, it's going to be a little spicy.
Let's watch it. I mean, so like the thing is like, this guy went from saying he didn't want to get involved to supporting people calling CPS, like associating with people calling CPS in my family. An atmosphere where someone like BadOPCode is being platformed by people like Matt Lieb and Denims, who are friends with...
I should state, as I have watched the content cop, it's a bit long, but you know what? Long overdue, I guess, right? Sure. Idubbbz does acknowledge he considers Ethan and Healer to be good parents. He also says the majority of those that are detractors of Ethan's would say the same. I disagree with that.
There isn't a single person that I respect who would give a f if I publicly said that Ethan and Hila are great with their kids, Ethan and Hila didn't kill their dog. No one would care. The only person who would care is me, because I'm like, why did I tweet this out? I'm not tweeting out because I'm not your lapdog. That's why I'm not tweeting it out.
This is where what Idubbbz says in the video does not align with his actions before the video's release. One of many contradictions that gets highlighted by everyone, along with calling this content slop and phoned in recession hitting, which makes sense. His views aren't that great these days. Better than mine, of course, but that's not difficult. But a recession for him would make some sense, hence the video, although if political skewing did influence this video, well, I can't wait for more phoned in content.
It looks like they're both in the video.
Check the description.
Oh my God! Like what? Like what? Why? What would I do to like what kind of, like, bro? What kind of cowardly is this? Like, we have one disagreement where I get upset because you guys aren't defending me publicly after everything I've done to support you guys.
Isn't that a great thing about the internet? I've discovered over the many years of being on this platform that people are snakes. It is why, for the most part, I don't associate with many creators. Those that have conviction, I think, are worth time and are worth friendship. There aren't many of those left, and rather aggravatingly, someone like Ethan, who has gone through a massive shift because of what's been going on in Israel, he would have thought those friends nearest him would stand by him, and Idubbbz was, for a time, one of them. I'm going to skip to another clip from H3's podcast episode, where another discussion comes up.
You know what's funny? I genuinely think that Sam Hyde broke Ian. And when he told me, he was like, he came and he
That was
like,
such a bizarre chapter.
He says, I'm doing a documentary on Sam Hyde. I told him, and Anissa was here. I said, that's a huge mistake. Do not do it. You guys, I don't know who, I said, do not do it. Like, trust me. Because Sam's the type of guy who's going to get the best of you, really, no matter what.
Is it strange that I agree with this? The whole Sam Hyde debacle, especially when it came to like Creator Clash 2, was hilarious to me. First of all, Sam Hyde wanted, after Creator Clash 1, to fight Hassan Piker, who acts big tough on the internet, but when it came to being challenged, he actively said no, because Sam Hyde is bigger than him, bigger head, can take a punch, actually backs up what he says, and he backed it up well, it cannot be denied.
And it turns out he did, and he's even crazier than Ian anticipated.
Right.
He absolutely, I think it just broke him. And I mean, Sam Hyde's like super ultra right, so maybe he's just, I don't know. I'm like Sam Hyde now, apparently.
I was kind of expecting you to be compared more to Froggy Fresh after that, but you know what? We'll let that slide. We'll move on to another part, because Ethan isn't done. His show, there were 34,000 people watching this live. People were loving this.
Could make you snap. That could make you go postal.
By the way, this is what I don't think I have anything accountable, but I'm going to look at the criticism and respond to it. This is what this looks like. Hassan still will not watch the content nuke. And by the way, when he watches clips of it, he needs someone else to hold his hand and prepare the responses for him to agree with.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Hassan Piker features in the Content Cop, as does Frogan, as does Denims. Basically, if you look at the description, you'll see just an array of people that don't like Ethan Klein. And his wife too, dubbed The Wife, but mostly Ethan. It's interesting to me when it comes to criticizing Hila in this, because they do go a bit flaccid for the most part. They relegate her because they know she's not a joke. We can criticize the Kleins as much as you like, really. There's nothing wrong with criticism. But when it comes to the detractors, not one of them has served, not one of them has ever been to this area of the world they are also adamantly against. They do not understand the culture, yet they will all sit there on their high horses. Even one that is a 2-time rising star streamer, yes, I'm aware of that, we'll get to her in a minute, don't you worry, and preach as if they can understand the vastly more complicated geopolitical and religious issues. Oh, and terrorism. They don't get it because they're sympathizers. And yes, I'll happily say Hassan Piker's that. He does struggle with original thought. If you ever watch his live streams, there is more dead air than there is conversation. Because the man doesn't know how to respond. He needs his chat to fuel him. If they can give him an opinion that he might see as extreme left enough, he'll say it. Otherwise, he'll disagree with you and then he'll put you on blast for it. for not being left enough. He's a purity tester, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
I
I'm
agree.
confident in
I think
myself.
that's a little weak of Hassan to not be willing to take it head on. However, I can understand, again, just it's so personal with this being somebody who's a longtime friend of yours. I foresee you getting pretty heated, and sometimes when you get heated, you say things you regret.
Well, before we get anything else from Ethan Klein, perhaps we should get something from Hassan Piker. Because undoubtedly in this video, where he does feature, there are some nuggets of wisdom scattered all about. Because the man is full of energy and expression, and he's got so much going on. Honestly, nothing more entertaining than listening to him talk.
I'm not going to do a React content yet, chat.
Ethan wasn't done. Now, there are other clips I want to show you in a bit. Obviously, there are. He has a little thing about Frogan as well, and it's worth mentioning Frogan because, well, her relevancy is dwindling, everyone, and she's worried. But we'll get to that after his rant.
Ethan, wake up.
Oh my God. Frogan,
Let's
what a
go.
nightmare. Talk about a jump scare. This man willingly got in a room with Frogan to make a video about how I can't. Bro, I can't. How is this real? This is like, am I dreaming?
See? They told you to wake up.
I think I do need to wake up. This is surreal.
It's because there's a recession here, Ethan. In case you weren't aware, at time of recording, because I have to go to Norwich on Friday, so I'm doing this on the Thursday, the 17th. At time of recording, the video's been out for 18 hours and has 2.5 million views, 166,000 downvotes, 204,000 upvotes. If we go to his channel and look at his more recent videos, the last one was from 3 weeks ago, has 482,000 views. Before that, an announcement about Creator Clash, 228. His viewership for videos went down so much from the millions he got for every upload down to, well, this, that let's face it here, he needed this content cop. And he can't deny, a series like this, he needs it. It's his bread and butter. It's his Mad Lad. It is the thing he created that he can guarantee get views on. And he did. Nowhere near the level so far of what he used to get, but at the same time, this has been several years removed from the last one that basically destroyed Rice Gum.
Idubbbz was literally like co-signed Frogan, the girl who said, I hope veterans get PTSD.
Wake up.
The girl who put on a racial tier list.
If anyone wants a jolly good chuckle, this is something recently said by Frogan anyway, about relevancy.
It's like, you know, you see those people at the top. I don't know if I believe in karma. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if I had to lose my career over this bullshit, at least I can say I was consistent in my views.
I promise you, in the grand scheme of things, no one cares about your moral compass. Although if you think this is where your moral compass resides, you might be skewed from the offset and deserving of the future you bring upon yourself. The term get woke, go broke seems appropriate, but to be fair, those who fall within this get woke category are typically morally bankrupt anyway. Back to the main subject at hand though. Perhaps I should play something from the content cop, hopefully I don't get copyright claimed, that cringed me out just enough that I felt it right to share it with all of you as well.
What's up, everybody? I'm Hassan Piker, and this is the Hassan broadcast coming to you live from a cloudy day here in California, Los Angeles. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. I have a very important announcement. I've finally done it. I watched Ethan Klein's content nuke.
Yes, we're about to hear some amazing truth bombs from Hassan, and his emotional range is really going to shine through here.
And I'm not going to call it context puke as I normally do because the reality of the matter is it was brilliant. Nothing was out of context. Everything was correct. I am an Islamist, fundamentalist, radical terrorist. I am a vicious anti-Semite. It's true. Most importantly, Ethan is more attractive than me, both physically.
Oh, the temptation to leave it at that. Honestly. But that's not the cringy part, guys. No, the cringy part is what happens about 10 seconds later, and I'm skipping to that because I don't think we need to hear him with his sarcasm. It doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as well because so much of it can be believed to be true. It's not even reductio ad absurdum with some of the crap that came out of his mouth last year during election season. Like, seriously, out of touch much. Here's the cringy thing, though. Do enjoy. We've got some cameos from Denims and Frogan. It's amazeballs, everyone.
Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, wake up.
Wakey, wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare. Wake up.
Ethan, the dumb bitch is telling you to wake up.
Wake up.
Ethan, wake up.
Are we allowed to say that's cringe? Are we allowed to do that? Because I remember the old content cops, and my sense of humour hasn't really changed that much. I still think of them as quite funny. This didn't resonate with my sense of humour, so maybe I'm interpreting it wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect on this. So what we should do is have a look at responses from, let's say, more notable, name-worthy streamers. We'll start with Lolcow Live, and then go to XQC.
Dude, Ethan Klein, and more than Ethan Klein, the H3H3 podcast, because I'm talking about the employees like Starkilla and his wife, and just all these, that entire show has been supporting and platforming and getting behind Creator Clash, Idubbbz and Anissa for years, and everybody knows it. So I actually see where Ethan's coming from.
For the most part, Ethan has blindly given Idubbbz support, because that's what friends do. They will behind the scenes, sometimes publicly, call you out on your mistakes, right? But when it came to things like Creator Clash being a massive financial failure, Ethan was there. You owe ETH massively. But I guess when you've, had too much of that Kool-Aid, I guess it's not poison if enough of you have it, am I right, folks? You're willing to say and do the dumbest of things, but that's not for me to decide whether the content cop is bad or not. Again, I wasn't very comfortable with it, but many people, 200,000 at the very least, enjoyed it. I'm on the other side. Continuing with Keeper.
Here I am, fighting against these terrorist supporters of Twitch, all right? And you and your wife can't say a single thing to defend us? A single thing. I understand where Ethan Klein and Healer are coming from.
Me too.
And if I'm Idubbbz and you think they're overreacting, sure, whatever. But when you go and make a content cop in response, then it seems like Healer Klein and Ethan Klein were 100% validated in that opinion that you were not a friend.
I couldn't agree more. I know Keemstar's right. We can't be saying such things on this platform. How dare us? But if you're right, you're right. There's a clip going around of Destiny with a take that is also correct. But I don't want to play it here because it's Destiny. But Destiny is still correct. I'll play a clip of XQC though. I might have one of Asmongold as well. We'll see.
Dude, I don't even know what to say, bro. Like, I don't know, he's probably like watching people's reactions or whatever and stuff like that, and probably I'm not, you guys, I really didn't want to be harsh in the video off the rip. I didn't want to be harsh. So dislikes, I still give it a shot. Okay, and this was like the most nothing burger of all time.
At least he's not holding back, because many people have, but the majority on places like Twitter or X have not. The opinion, the resounding, the massive opinion consensus is this video is content flop. It is all about that recession. It is a nothing with nothing in it beyond everyone that doesn't like Ethan just adding 10 cents of nothing to a video that will make nothing because it will undoubtedly have been demonetized. So really, what was the point?
I wish that he kind of spent the time with the video and halfway through went like, dude, I gotta be honest with you. I was gonna do a kind of nuke, like this cannot be a nuke, and just kind of stopped. I watched, and it didn't really give me the content nuke vibe, content cop vibe of the old days. This was more like a content slap.
There was one more clip I wanted to show you, and that was the response to basically all of Ethan Klein's enemies featuring in this video. Because that to me was like a nail in the coffin for any friendship with Idubbbz. Unless he actually said sorry and made a massive change in his life, he can get used to the idea of whatever this existence he has is, and living off his wife's only Fupa Fibro failed Adathorm actor account.
Literally f***ing unreal.
Pretty wild.
And it's just so pathetic too. Like, talk about a bandwagon. Like, bro, this is the edgy, cool content you're trying to make a play to, like, warm up to. By the way, Idubbbz, Lena's having a panic attack because why would you do this and not even tell her? Like, why would you invite someone on the show and do this? It's just mean-spirited. I'm genuinely in disbelief.
I recommend everyone that has not seen Content Cop H3 to go and watch it. It is an hour long. If you have an hour in your day, great. If you want to speed it up, go nuts. People like Hassan speak quite slowly anyway, so speeding them up like myself is always beneficial. My opinion of the video is that it is not as good as the predecessors by a long stretch. This one feels influenced by a political landscape that Ian is not as knowledgeable on. Whether that means allowing others to dictate terms or not, I don't understand. To take a friend like Ethan has been to Ian for so long and stab him in the back feels like the biggest kick in the teeth. There were moments in the video where lucidity seemed to be there, but then it was taken over by just an excuse to be an absolute knob. It wasn't very well thought out or put together. The previous ones always fell into that theme as well, but it always seemed to work because of the style of comedy that it was trying to portray. That attempt of that style of comedy with a more leftist interpretation, or a window of acceptable comedy being greatly diminished, does harm this video's potential. Again though, at the same time, you're doing it on somebody that has been your friend for so long, and it just feels disingenuous and like an intentional personal attack for the sake of personally attacking a former friend. Why? Because they didn't pick up the phone? Yes, I'm well aware about that as well. You were silent when it mattered, Ian. You were silent when it mattered to him, so understandably he and his wife, so Ethan and Healer, because I'll use their sodding names, not relegate them to titles like you and your guests. They deserved your support, and you and your wife chose not to. You've had your, cake and eaten it, and gone for the communist meal instead of an empty sodding plate. I don't know if there's a path back for you after this, where you could be considered respectable or respected ever again. Is Creator Clash 3 still happening, or has it already happened? Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of videos and a bunch of tweets concerning Donut Operator, Idubbbz's wife, or boss, and wife, maybe husband these days, it's hard to tell, and some back and forths with other creators who have opinions on the crap coming out of cucked Ian's mouth and big bossy hypocrites, his wife's mouth, and tweets. Yes. So Donut Operator, on a recent podcast episode, detailed reasons as to why Idubbbz stopped being friends. In fact, they haven't spoken in over 5 years because of this very reason. A reason that, in hindsight, is arguably one of the most insecure reasons I could think of. Here's the relevant clip.
So, like, he went to a range day with me one time. Like, we used to talk a lot about content creation and stuff. And COVID rolls around, I get bored at home, so I make an OnlyFans where I'm showing my meat.
Really?
And so, well, basically, I'm taking a steak and I'm rating a steak. And like,
see, that's the reaction that you're supposed to have.
Genius.
I thought it was funny. So I'd be wearing like just an apron. Of course, I'm wearing like boxers underneath. And I'd reach down and be like, "This is my OnlyFans," and this is an A5 Wagyu from down the street. And I would talk about it. And I sent it to Ian, and he got mad and called me and like said I was making fun of Anissa, and like I wasn't.
Idubbbz's wife does only Fupa Fiber a failed adult film actor. How is this? How do you not? You realise the contradiction here, Ian, right? Now, of course, with all stories, there are two sides to any story, aren't there? In this case, multiple sides, but because Anissa is the boss, Anissa's the only opinion that matters. But we are going to go through everyone else's opinions as well because it seems only right to include them. And I should insert, the argument of main character syndrome comes up more than once in all of this. If you know what that is, you'll understand why it feels so appropriate to mention it now when I go through more of these tweets. Idubbbz was the first to respond by retweeting Yeet, you blocked Yeet, or was that just Hassan, by saying conveniently leaving out that your girlfriend at the time was pursuing OF, but you were too pussy to deal with criticism, so you made a parody account. No, I don't want to be friends with a coward. Now the perspective underneath this is Ian got offended by him doing it, not the other way round. That is underneath the replies to Yeet's tweet, putting out your tweet response. This gives off the impression, Ian's response, that his brain is a bit broken. I know the discussion of CTE has come up more than once. If we are to believe in this area, yes, of course, there is something that needs dealing. But what you say is your responsibility, irrespective of the reason or the cause that leads to this inability to string together coherent thoughts. In the past I thought it was because you were socially awkward. Now you've got a wife, you're still socially awkward, but you're also clearly tweet handicapped. Now Anissa jumped in to then start criticising Donut Operator by claiming the following. He also took us to a gun show where a child accidentally fired a gun that was loaded on sales table into the crowd, and everyone nonchalantly said ND in unison like it wasn't a big deal. From what I've been told, people will say ND to stop people from screaming and freaking out. To me, this is a very strange remark or reply to the initial tweet itself, to the initial comments from Donut Operator. But understandably, if you have to try and provide context, your best way is to make it seem like you're doing so when really you're deflecting and, you know, sensationalizing in a country where this doesn't work. And by the way, you turned replies off. Seriously. Brendan Herrera had later added additional comments, but Anissa had blocked Brendan, so Brendan couldn't set the record straight by saying, I was gonna set the record straight, but turns out she preemptively blocked me. What she's called a gun show was a live firing range, conveniently left that out for no particular reason, I'm sure. So essentially, Anissa has, unsurprisingly, told a fib, a porky pie as it were. But no one's surprised by Anissa telling lies because, well, it's in her nature. Now, fun fact also, she got community noted with Brendan Herrera's tweet because of that. And I think it's important, by the way, to get community noted when these things happen. Because if you're going to lie in this way on social media, your intention is solely poison the well. And I see where the replies were turned off. It was because you had hundreds of replies. No doubt people pointing out to you what this actually was, which makes you a pathological liar, Anissa, the mister in this marriage. Anissa's not done though. You see, she got a bit mad, a bit salty. She wasn't overly fond of the fact that people had pointed at her version of events, as it were. So, she had said, I hate gunheads. The term the kings of, actually. It was some gun event Donut took us to at a range. People were selling guns, which was during lunch when no one was firing, and a child went to a sales table, picked up a gun that wasn't supposed to be loaded, and fired it. That was a retweet or subtweet of Brendan Herrera. The vendor was booted, the guns on the table weren't supposed to be loaded, it was very much not normal. That event made me hate gun culture. I went in with an open mind as a Canadian. Oh, that explains a lot. But it was so poorly run and the people sucked so hard I became a certified hater after that. Ian Benoit. So the vendor did something they were not supposed to do and they enforced the rules and booted him, which is correct. Reply, gun people freak me out. Jesus. Booting someone is the bare minimum. There are rules that these events abide. Somebody broke the rules. They were punished for breaking the rules. We are lucky nobody was seriously hurt. That is the part that matters the most. People were in control of the situation and it was dealt with. But much like you, I will admit I'm not the biggest on guns. I wouldn't freak out like this on Twitter. Replies from others. Chris Dupree. Dupre? There's only one E, so it might be Dupre. I'm not sure what the point is though. You at a range where an improper discharge happened and no one was hurt. How does this add context to his story about Ian not being friends with him anymore? Honest question, maybe I'm missing something. Good point. Reply. An event we went to had a child accidentally fired into the crowd, with a gun on a sale table that was not supposed to be loaded. Someone could have easily died. The culture there did not respect the reality of what a gun is. These aren't normal people. Actually, they are, and you're freaking out. And what you're doing is, you're hyper-focusing, with some quaint tunnel vision, onto the part that involves a child. I will agree, that is certainly something for a discussion to be had. I really do understand it. As an Englishman, we don't have many guns. I fully understand. I also understand America has this freedom to bear arms, and this accident happened, get over it. Master grunt. Yet the worst part about owning guns is the inevitable interactions with other gun people. A lot of them are just insufferable. Not all though. A range day is probably the worst place to be introduced to the firearm ownership hobby. Reply. Yeah, for sure, I agree. I know there is a section of gun owners who respect the tool they're using and have nothing but love for those people. Another reply. So, someone else's kid did something bad, no one got hurt, and Donut is somehow the bad guy for it being there with you, got it. Also another good point. Reply. Anyone could have picked that gun up, it wasn't supposed to be loaded. Again, that is not Donut Operator's fault. And sometimes you do have to keep calm and carry on. But then I guess if you live in a bubble, a sanctuary state perhaps, or a place where you can huff your own farts in peace. Although I don't know if you'll be living there much longer. It is quite expensive to be in that state, isn't it? No doubt you'd go to another place like Texas and ruin that place next. Another reply. Gun culture in America is terrifying. The sole reason I've considered ownership for safety is because of the insane people around me that decide guns are more important than people. Reply, we went through the exact same thought process. I could genuinely believe Anissa doesn't own one at all anyway. Couldn't, won't, cause California. No offense to Californians who are decent, but some of you guys, much like any state, any country, any republic, are stupid. I also agree with many who've said this has nothing to do with Donut Operator. You were introduced to an event, it didn't go to plan because of one instance, but it does tell me Anissa is the type to get really easily triggered by one thing going wrong on a day. But Anissa's a massive hypocrite anyway. Anissa's been calling out people for the amount of money they spend on things, yet posing with a $4,000 bag, something which Ethan Klein hammered her for on Instagram. Anissa once claimed that she didn't want a ring that was over $1,000, yet does have a 4K bag. Now this bag has got a bit of attention, especially because of the recent findings that Creator Clash would have benefited them 30-something% of the revenue, and that, or profits, I can't remember which. Doesn't matter to me. I understand if you're the promoter taking a percentage, because that's quite common with boxing events. 30-something% is actually more than what typical promoters take. So this is not promotional. This is very much a con that comes across as some people, two in particular, taking a cut that they can then write off as charitable. Gotta love them tax cuts, but if you live in a state where the tax is already really high, what you should do is impact the state to make the changes so the taxes are lower, right? Yeah, that would be the smart move, rather than abusing the system and the loopholes to take money. Now, others have pointed out that if you looked at the terms and conditions and Q&As for Creator Clash, no one ever said it wasn't, and that this was already known. I'll be honest, much like reading Apple's terms of service when you have to have an update and you scroll, no one's reading it, which means yes, in about 10-15 years there will be a massive increase in human-sent iPads. Now, via Idubbbz's favourite Twitter account, Comment Cop, Idubbbz confirmed in a new video that he and Anissa plan to take 34% of the charity event money, but they were definitely going to donate it back later. Here is the relevant clip.
But the main controversy, I would say, is that it was revealed with the change of ownership that Anissa and I, because we're 1/3 ownership of Creator Clash, the business, that we were getting 34% of the profit share. We weren't anticipating this event doing well. Like, we wanted to do well enough to pay back the investors, of course. So that's one of the reasons that we were, okay with the profit share thing. But another part of it as well is that the contract wasn't structured in a way that the profit share could just directly go to charity. It was told to us, like, you could just donate your portion of the profit share to charity after the event.
This is where people have latched onto this as, oh, well, we already knew this because it was in that little terms of service thing. Comments on his latest video concern trolling are destroying him, basically.
Like, deep down, I want him to be uncucked. I want him to get the tattoos lasered off, get a normal haircut, get rid of Yoko Ono. That's poisonous. That relationship is poisonous. She's like his entertainment handler. Like, she's his career manager now or something. She's got to go, man.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Anissa, the wife of Idubbbz, the business manager, partner, boss, husband in the marriage, is trending on Twitter. And I thought we'd go and have a look why. As to why even. The reason why concerns two individuals, and boy oh boy do they have words to say. Let's not dilly-dally as we have many a clip to go through, and simply dive right in. Because they're not looking so good right now, the Idubbbz and the Idubbbz master.
Believing it. But so for that second event, so I tell him he needs to do 2-a-days. This is like 2 weeks before the fight. I'm like, we need to do your 2-a-days. And I said, my brand is at stake. Well, he went and told Anissa that I told him my brand was at stake. So the next day she comes into the gym super mad and she's like, our brand is at stake. We're $500,000 in the hole right now. And we're like,
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that at that time. I think a lot of the fighters would have liked to have known that.
Considering the money and the numbers involved and knowing now especially how much it lost, this would have been very useful information for to have had ahead of time. Mistreating your trainer is an interesting and novel concept, especially when Anissa's still pinned tweet is her 7 months into a boxing training regime. Not going to criticize the technique because I couldn't care less, but it's still pinned. Who's that trainer again? Oh, I should show the clip just so you understand what I'm referring to.
Shit. Yes. Again.
Back to these two, though.
I don't think none of them needed to be in the dark about that, you know?
Yes, completely. Well, and that's the thing. They said you guys didn't promote enough, but they weren't honest about the fact that they were spending the money from the ticket sales on the hotel, on flying people in, on all these other things. So it was just like...
So those decisions, the gala decisions, were made while in the red.
When people criticised Creator Clash 2, Idubbbz had mentioned his desire to do as much as he could to protect those competing at the event. I'll be honest on this one. Promises were made that couldn't be kept, people were removed, and the only reason that the first one was as successful as it was down to some rather notable figures being a part of the event, like the first guy I showed. The second failed because of this purity testing and because of a really bad business model, and it was bad. Now we know that because of ownership and blah blah blah, percentages and blah blah blah, it wasn't really much of a charity event in the first place. The second event raised nothing. In fact, I'm sure you could have just billed the charities for the privilege of hosting an event that made them no money.
Yes.
I have a question about that.
So she was like, we're already down 500,000. And she still had time to cancel stuff when she said that? Like, how before the event was that?
Yeah. I mean, it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks before the event. I mean, they
so
knew
she
they
could
were
have made some last minute moves. Yeah.
They knew they were 500K in the hole long before that, right? That's just when they yelled at us about it.
I'm not gonna lie. Openness, transparency is very important to me. Said unironically from a guy who uses a profile picture avatar thing, right? Yeah. Bit ironic. But when it comes to doing things like charity, I think you should be very open and transparent about where the money is and where it's all going. If you haven't got enough money and you're 500 grand under, you fail. And those involved should be informed, because they then, as creators, can try and help. They can see if they can promote the event more. They can perhaps ask for donations to the event to help it, to raise money for it. It's not overly complicated here. How micromanagey are you? That's not a word. How desperate are you to be in control? That's better. That you can't shelve your pride to simply speak to those you have deemed lesser to you. You have to be so full of yourself. And no offense intended, you do OF. You're not above anyone. I promise you that.
Yeah.
So they could have definitely made moves to reduce spending.
She wanted that award show so bad the next day. They really wanted to have that award show so she could give out awards. Once again, you had heard, like Ian said, he didn't want to have the fight just end and have everybody go home the next day.
He said, I'll quote him because it's very rich. He says that the first time afterwards, he woke up and everybody was gone. And he found it super depressing because he didn't get a chance to process his trauma.
So a small part of me does understand. However, as someone that has boxed, I can promise you the following. If you're that sensitive, you shouldn't be boxing in the first place. You don't need some campfire, everyone sat holding hands having a jolly good cry moment situation type deal. You really don't. I will admit, yes, I rolled my eyes when he had said that. It was a while ago, and I remember. But people going is for their own best. They've got stuff to do. You may not hold these same views anymore, but that's a you problem, Idubbbz.
Which seems a little bit hyperbolic, frankly, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's like a self-inflicted charity event. I wouldn't call that exactly I wouldn't put that up with like maybe like fighting in a war. I don't know, but right. But I guess we all define trauma differently. But so he goes. So in that case, I wanted to throw a party afterwards where we could all talk to each other and process our trauma. And then he says, we lost money, but I don't regret throwing the after party.
I don't remember if the after party was at all costed or made public, but in these situations, your best hope would have been to have gone to a Chick-fil-A, Hooters before it went under, to go somewhere where the food is meh, yeah? Because it's not about the food, is it, or the drink? I understand wanting to celebrate what you've done, but you have nothing to celebrate, Idubbbz. Nor do you, Idubbbz's master, because you lost money and the charity got nothing. There are YouTubers with less subscribers than myself and many others who have raised more money for charity by doing a simple video on you than you did from Creator Clash 2. It was failed because of all those people you removed who were so influential that they managed to make you look like absolute divs, which, as it turns out, is an accurate summation for who you are. Now, there are many more clips from these discussions we need to go through. We're going to go through some more. So the next clip is not going to be from this immediate discussion.
This next question is very salacious, so it's totally up to you. You can pretend like you don't even know what I'm talking about if you want. But what I've heard is that she was hitting on one of his sparring partners and was obsessed with him and gave him a VIP pass to the event.
A lot of his sparring partners got the passes, but she definitely had a big crush on one of the guys that would come in and spar with them, because anytime they would spar, she would just be super into it and watch every moment.
Now this intrigues me. It intrigues me because, as we discussed yesterday, she is remarkably, and he is too, Ian Idubbbz, incredibly insecure. We know this because of the meat meme joke OF thing that Donut Operator was doing. Incredibly insecure. But it's okay, guys. It's one rule for me, but not for thee. Being inappropriate? No, don't be silly. I'm not surprised Anissa would, though, because if there's a chance she can work her way up another ladder, yeah, dirt, by the way, that's the word you're thinking of, filth.
And then, even if he would like beat Ian up, she'd be very into it. And then,
I want to say that, I want to say that before. So Anissa never gave shoutouts to Michael training Ian at all, but she put out the first video of Ian like getting rocked in sparring when Ian was sparring with her crush. Yeah, it was our friend Gabe. She shared it. And we have a clip too. You guys can share. I would
call him Gorgeous Gabe.
This information coming out and coming to light, sharing the perspective from the inside of the business model and how they were treated, is very important, considering the roles that they played with Creator Clash, Idubbbz, and Anissa. Right? Yeah, there's still more.
Yeah, the first Creator Clash, Sam had a major presence there, even though he physically wasn't there. I did see a lot of shirts, a bunch of Sam Hyde, and something that has that type of what's it called? Like it's
an allure.
Hard to get people to move. Yeah, and people were there. They were wearing his T-shirt and stuff like that. And I had a lot of people that watched Sam and watched the documentary that watched Creator Clash. But you know, I guess it was like picking and choosing who could be a part of the event.
To be honest, Sam Hyde did more to promote Creator Clash as a whole than Idubbbz and Anissa did. Sam Hyde wanted to fight Hassan Piker. Hassan, obviously being a poser, declined. I personally thought if that could have happened, and on Creator Clash too anyway, that could have made a lot of money from it. But Hassan's not interested in charity unless he is the benefactor, or he's he's more interested in talking about how cool Hezbollah flags are. Yes, I've seen the clips. It's not much in the way of a flex, but it's a weird one to go, oh, that's cool because there's a gun on it. You want gun control, and that's what... Okay, you know what? We'll ignore that for now. Continuing with another clip, because this highlights Sam Hyde's potential. When you're an influencer or you have influence, you can sway, you can generate interest in a product. Idubbbz and Anissa went contrarian and went with people no one knew or gave a fuck about.
Would have if he would have just been there. Like, so...
It was the craziest thing, because Anissa said to me, she's like, Kate, you don't understand. Ian and I both believe that Sam Hyde would really come and find me and would actually murder me. So that's the reason why we have to take all these precautions. And I was just like, are you sure?
I was like, I think the guy's a millionaire. I was like, I don't think he's going to risk his freedom to kill you.
I don't think it helped that Sam Hyde said in a post-fight interview, Hassan, I'm going to unalive you. But at the same time, Sam Hyde is a living legend, a meme. There's no way he's not a millionaire, and there's no way he's not comfortable with the life he has. It's all posturing. If you know anything about boxing, by the way, it's a good way of promoting events. If you are that deluded to think that someone of Sam Hyde's stature would go near you, Anissa, in an aggressive manner, and the same with Ian, the midget that he is, you are delusional. You have to be. And there are pills for that. I recommend you get prescribed some and take them. It'll help when you finally see reality. No, it's not a red pill, in case you're wondering, but they have been taking far too many blue pills.
Almost look like him. That's crazy.
we know this guy. He's the finance guy.
Yeah.
Very nice guy.
Very nice. And like,
so what happened? How did he piss off Anissa?
So he owns properties. No, I'm just well, that was kind of it. But when they did his show, because we went to Vegas to promote the event, and when he went to do his podcast, he didn't have a chair for her, so she was super offended by that. She was so pissed.
But don't you know just how important they are? I understand when we get to a certain stage in life, we expect and demand respect. Sadly, for me, that is not something I can adhere to. I prefer that you must always earn it. And if there isn't a chair for you, simply request one. But this does lean into yesterday, where if one thing doesn't go completely right for Anissa, the whole day is completely smacked up.
Jewish.
Yeah. Did he not get her a chair? Is he by chance Jewish?
I don't know.
What's that?
Is he Jewish?
Oh, Stefan, good question. Good question. Yeah.
You're obviously Jewish.
Well, she might have thought so. If you hear.
Yeah, she might have thought so. She was so pissed because he had her. She was complaining about it, and he had a chair for Ian, but not one for her. So she had to sit in the back, far away, and she wasn't in frame. And so she thought that was so offensive that he would, do a podcast with Ian and not.
Wait, let me pull that up.
This might seem callous, but at the time of this happening, especially, Ian was more than Anissa. Ian is the Idubbbz face. Ian is the character. Well, he was. Now he's just cucked, quite frankly. He really is. He can't take a joke. He can't take criticism. He's blocking quite heavily on Twitter because, and if you're listening, Ian, I doubt you are, you're a bit of a bitch. You've become one. And I understand that means you get to dredge the swamp, as it were. But to be this delicate when all you have to do is mute tells us that they've actually gotten under your skin. Muting means you can still interact and you'll never see it. They'll never know either. But blocking is the statement that says, yeah, I can't handle anything. I'm delicate. It's the trauma, guys. The trauma.
We're with them for 2 to 3 weeks at a period of time. That's a long time to be with someone. You learn so much about the person. And then you start to realize, wow, everything that, I don't want to say, their enemy's name. What's his name? Sam. I don't want to say he's right, but when we saw that video drop, I was
he's
like,
right.
oh my God.
You could say it.
I was like,
the one where he's
like,
like, well, hold on. So there's a video of Sam Hyde, and he goes, she's going to ruin his life. Mark my words. I guarantee it. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, Anissa was the one that showed it to us, because we didn't know nothing.
Sam Hyde is right. There are very few instances where Sam Hyde has actually been wrong. Yeah, this is not one of those few instances. He is definitively correct. Now, because of the money lost by many involved, including these people, Ethan actually made an offer.
But I want to say here that I, the capitalist, will once again be ponying up for the right cause. It is not right that he stiffed you guys. I'm going to be sending you guys $5,000 for the bonus that you never got.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Because he should have never fucked you guys.
That's insane.
It's my pleasure to do it. I'm going to send you guys that money. You should have got more than it from him, frankly. But once again, let's just bask.
There have been multiple instances of late where the capitalist, that is Ethan Klein, does the most uncliche thing. There are some stereotypes that Family Guy like to rip on, and many programs do in fact, concerning those that are Jewish being tight with money, by giving money to people that he's not even directly connected to. And he's doing it because others have failed, and their arrogance is quite unbecoming when they fail. At some point, you've got to learn a lesson. Ian, I'm waiting for you to learn it. You're so full of yourself still, and it's weird. It really is. I understand that people change with their relationships, when they get married, they settle down. I'm yet to be convinced that you've settled down, unless it's to sniff something. And I highly believe, highly likely, it's sherbet off Anissa's foot, unwashed. There's more, though, to add to this, because Ethan obviously has others he wants to throw digs at the same time.
Hassan doesn't pay his moderators. His mods are on stream begging for money.
Look
right?
it up.
Yet, look at me, right? Go ahead, Tom, say something nice about me.
You're just an amazing person. You look very handsome in the suit today.
You.
You're generous with your money. You're just all around good guy, good family guy, great dad and husband.
Thank you. Communist never.
I'll say thanks for reimbursing me and Lena for her training. That was very nice. The check cleared.
When someone is on their game, it shows quite clearly, quite well in fact. Ethan had also on his Instagram story posted this, no doubt one of those little nails in a coffin that doesn't even need to exist if Idubbbz and his wife could simply stop being so full of themselves. Because this is quite tragic, yeah? Today we're going to be taking a look at tweets, clips, bits and bobs shared to the Twitters because Idubbbz has released a new video titled, "Are You Scared of Immigrants?" When you take a look at the like to dislike, 18,000 say, "Yeah, we like this video, Idubbbz." 41,000 say otherwise. Top comments, "Bro is quite literally lobotomized." funny listening someone who isn't from Europe telling everyone what Europe is like. Europe as a continent, much like the United States, is many different cultures and subcultures within many different countries. More context will be provided soon. My liberal friends are going to love this one. As a European, I love being lectured on how much we love immigration by a clueless American who's just trying to impress his wife with his hot takes. And you are the reason there's a singular chair in hotel rooms. As you can tell, not well received. In the description, I couldn't help but notice he has pinned Frogan's, Denim's and Caseytron's legal defense funds, or as they should be dubbed, Ethan's Victory Fund. So over on Twitter, bits and bobs have been shared from the video, but other aspects. Things that Ian had been saying from a position of ignorance. So we're going to go through those clips from an English perspective, because I can't speak for other countries, and we're going to see what happens next. I should insert though, there is a massive political shift taking place. It's already happening in Italy, it's happening again in France, it's happening in Germany, it's happening in Spain. Some of the biggest names within the European Union, that pyramid scheme, are starting to say, yeah, nah, Sweden's already a lost cause. The other countries don't want to fall foul of this. But, again, I can't speak for them. They can speak for themselves, and they do plenty of that on social media. I have no doubt, though, Idubbbz pays very little attention to them, instead interpreting things through an idealist lens of, but the California, guys. Be more like us. Have you moved to Canada yet?
Trying to get people to think about in the video is like, why are, like the Scottish kid, he would say, you don't want Europe to become like this, and would just generally just like say this is third world. You don't want Europe to become third world, do you? And it's like, well, number one, you have to automatically be making some assumptions that the third world is necessarily like shitty.
It is. It's why it's called a third world. You know this because you live in a third world republic. There is a big difference with what's happening within my country, with those who are illegally entering the country, those who legally enter the country, which is harder to do because of the number of those who illegally enter the country and get put into hotels that cost the taxpayer £10 million a day, which is not okay. I would rather that be used on the homeless. I can't believe, for a moment, many of the voters would have voted for that, knowing it would hurt them more in their pockets. And I'm sure many have suffered buyer's remorse. You thinking you can speak for someone from Scotland is quite quaint. Scotland has for many years wanted more, the SNP especially, to rejoin the European Union after leaving the United Kingdom. Ironically, leaving one union where they claim their voice doesn't matter to join another where their voice definitely won't matter anymore because no one will be able to translate them. But eventually it will happen, and when it does, they can learn the lesson the hard way.
There's a wide variety of markets in Italy, from what I've seen, as someone who hasn't even been there. But it's it is like, you just can't do that. You can't go to a random market and turn your camera on and make a claim about the country.
According to a number of websites, 38.3% of Italians feel threatened by those who want to facilitate the entrance of migrants. 29.3% view them as the enemy who hold different family concepts from the traditional family. In 2026, Italy will begin issuing nearly 500,000 work visas to non-EU nationals, which is a good thing because of labour shortages. Is that going to be issued to those who have already come into the country and stretched resources? Also, your little comment about turning the camera on and speaking on something without any knowledge yet, it seemed a bit ironic. You really are doing the irony thing. Are you trying to be a bread tuber now? Don't ever seek to speak for Italians unless you've been to Italy first. I'm only going on what I've seen from a few sources on the internet. I'm sure they're not credible because someone has to discredit something, but some modicum of research is important. Using GeoGuessr is not research, by the way.
Or about the city that you're in. You can kind of make a claim about the city, maybe. If that market is actually representative about the city, sure. But it's not. I went to a lot of places, virtually, on GeoGuessr. I've been to a lot of places in Italy.
Oh, you really are a sweat, aren't you? If you really want to be worldly, commentate on worldly problems, problems that don't impact you directly just yet, apparently, go to those places first, and then speak with any level of authority on it. But don't worry, guys, he's not done with his hotness takes.
Yo, I mean, oh my gosh. This person says, here in Italy, many of my friends have been robbed, assaulted, and it's been by North African immigrants each time. But I guess the smug Californian has ruled that drawing any kind of conclusion from that is wrong. It is wrong. It is racist and weird.
I know you're trying to be funny, but he has a point. She has a point. They have a point. There has been an increase in crime in my country, for example, from those entering the country illegally, many of whom have been caught trying to take advantage of those under the legal age of consent. There's a word for that, RAPE. You think, though, by someone highlighting the fact that those economic migrants who have illegally entered the country are robbing other people, highlighting the fact that they've come from somewhere else, somehow makes them racist and doesn't therefore mean their point is valid. It is valid. Increased crime is blatantly obvious. In my country, if you talk about it, you get arrested for disturbing the peace. Bitch, no chance. Everyone should talk about it. You cannot turn a blind eye to harm caused to those who allowed you the chance to rule a country. All people who seek to be politicians only do so because they seek power, not because they think they can impact any meaningful change. Your ignorance to this is astonishing.
Oh, this I also love. This has 2K likes.
As it should. Many people I've seen on social media, some from very, very privileged backgrounds in the United Kingdom as well. Remember the curly hair girl? Yeah. Celebrities as well like Lily Allen, Gary Lineker, talking about how we should give up homes and spaces for people to come to our country, to make room for them. Let them in your homes instead, because no one else should be inconvenienced by your choice. And you do not get to decide what the other people of the nation, who are not like you, do with their homes. So do let them into your home because, well, surely you have a nice place, if you haven't already sold it.
This was directed at me. Let an undocumented immigrant move in with you. I mean, sure, I guess. I might want to get to know them a little bit first.
If we implement policies that the side of the aisle you currently claim to stand on want to enact, you don't get a choice in this matter. Don't bother trying to act like you're above it. Seriously, it's beyond embarrassing at this point. Now, obviously, some of his takes have been noticed by the Ethan of Klein. I have seen some people tweeting videos by claiming Ethan's a stalker and harassing Ian. No, Ethan is committing to what he said he would do. He made it quite clear he was going to keep on doing this. You don't like it? That's a you problem. And let's face it here, considering what Ian has done to Ethan, Ethan can do whatever the f*** he wants.
Like, a perfect example is like hate-watching things. Like, there are some people who obviously hate-watch me. I have hate-watched some people in the past. And I think it stems from this, like, kind of, I don't know, just like you have this association where your, like, entertainment needs to be, like, super critical. It can't just make you laugh or make you happy. Like, you need to be, like, I don't know, maybe either experiencing some sort of, like, suffering.
It sounds to me like somebody's overthinking the situation they've put themselves into. What you call hate watching in the context of you, others call consequence watching. Because everything you do now going forward, once you delved deeper into the rabbit hole of cuckoldery and lolcowness, your life, your content, became a target for not just shermanation, but vast amounts of criticism. The only difference here is the only chance you're getting effed is by your own wife, because I doubt she lets you do it to her.
Or you need to do it so that it makes you feel better about yourself. And as soon as I realized that that was like it's not really reflective of how I want to be, and consuming so much content that I, like, hate, don't like, whatever, like, it's not Didn't make me happier.
I'm not entirely convinced at this stage of your life you know what happiness is, but it is not my place to judge what your happiness is, where you derive it from. I'm just curious if this is just one big smokescreen for you now having a job where you say the following. Would you like fries with that? A. Now, Ethan wasn't done, and there was a second clip shared to the Instagram. We'll go to that next.
That's the problem. Like, you cannot be, like, okay with that type of rhetoric, even if someone's intention is like, I do racial jokes. It's not funny. It's not cute. You're not gonna make anyone laugh. I'm not laughing. I don't think anyone here would think that that's funny.
The tickle-worthy thing about what Ian is trying to reference a lot of the time is that it comes from a place of ignorance. For example, the people he uses in his video were catching pickpockets in Rome because pickpocketing is on the rise. So they publicly shame the person doing it to really drive the point home. You may not like that, but that's a you problem again. And jokes about race, people do that for all but one, as in only one group of peoples can't seem to make any jokes about anyone else of any other race, but anyone of that race can make their own jokes about themselves. Although there are, because of the oppression Olympics, yes, an antiquated term, where some get a pass where they can say even more things and get more of a pass because of their race. If one person can't because of the, and I'll try and say it correctly, rhetoric, a word that confounded your head, then no one can. Either everyone is equal or no one is. Now, I firmly support the idea, the mantra of no lives matter. I'm never going to change from this stance, because for everyone to be equal, everyone has to suffer. Something which you can't understand either, being this weird little bread tuber that you've now become.
From Rome, and yes, it was bad. Scammers and graffiti everywhere.
Not gonna lie, from what I've seen of Rome, not through GeoGuessr, but in the news, when the Prime Minister, President, or whatever they're called of Italy has spoken of Italy and the issues Italy is facing, and the fact that Italians are sick and tired of this, it is quite disturbing to see, and saddening, disheartening, that's the correct word, to see Italy with its rich culture being torn to shreds by people who do not appreciate where they are. They have no concept of this. Gratitude went out the window. You can say that's racist all you like, but people from differing cultures who expect and demand to be given a better life, yeah, nah. It's why many come to the United Kingdom thinking we're suddenly the best option available, and because they haven't got the balls to cross the Atlantic, nor the supply.
I'm not even Italian and it makes me sad. Well, don't let your racism affect you too much.
Just out of curiosity, how many people are you trying to suck off when making this video, thinking you can speak for Italians, or for Europe as a whole, any country within Europe for that matter, governments of whom have been thrown out, destroyed, entered into massive coalitions just so they can keep peddling their extreme left ideals that no longer resonate with the majority of their nation. I would include my own country because the voter turnout was so bad last time. If you want your peoples to support what you do, moderation is important, and constantly appealing to people's humanity is no longer important because we just want the simple things that are often forgotten or ignored under the guise of, yeah, but we got to invest in infrastructure. Guys, infrastructure. Your ignorance is astonishing, and your American attitude, your California attitude, is too poisonous to resonate with the Italians, or anyone else in Europe as a continent that would like to go to Italy, or to Rome more notably.
For all you know, the Italians are loving it.
So according to a report from 2024, a significant minority has thusly been dubbed of 38.3% feel threatened by migrants. Those who come to the country, work and pay into the tax system, integrate within the country as a whole, are not an issue. It's the illegal side of things, or those who are just being allowed in and given access to everything. This rate of 38.3% will only go up if it is not properly addressed. In 2018, there was an article by The Guardian titled, "I love Rome, but Rome doesn't love us because of the city's more recent, at the time, migrant crisis." Thousands of migrants were being evicted from squatting in the city's abandoned buildings. That was 800, by the way, people who had been living there for 4 years. There was no plan B at the time. At that time, there were just over 180,000 asylum seekers in Italy, which was dubbed maximum capacity, with most in or near Rome. This is not something you'll learn from GeoGuessr. This is something you learn from doing some basic modicum of research, Idubbbz. You need to learn to pay attention to what is going on in the world. That was 7 years ago, and it has gotten worse. Of course people are worried. It's why there are meme videos on the internet of can any Italian say anything nice about migrants? Turns out, no is the answer. It's quite impressive, really. Is it my job to speak for Italians? No, of course it isn't. And I'm sure there are some that are living the best life with those who have come to the country and integrated. That's the part that matters. If you don't, and all you do is exist in a building somewhere, you're making it worse. You've got to contribute, be a part of it. This is why I'm considered a bit idealist in one respect. I would like those who come to my country to integrate. I'm acutely aware, though, that's not what happens because of how often politicians talk about communities. When you as a creator have fallen so far from where you once resided, a land of plenty where you were safe, stable, and able to be as creative as possible without compromising on your beliefs, to finally tasting pussy and deciding, you know what? I think I'm going to hold the camera while my wife does all the hard work. To lose your way, give up on your values, decide that you want to go on an apology tour, destroy any relationship you had away from your wife, forge new ones that were even more shallow, and end up basically broke. That lolcow themselves, the channel, make an offer to you, things are slightly off. On that note...
Anissa, Ian, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye. We're not seeing eye to eye right now, all right? But in about 6 months, in about a year, the money's all gonna dry up. There's gonna be nothing left, and you guys are gonna be looking for real jobs.
I don't know. They're getting, reasonable subscribers. I say they, Ian, on Twitch, and Anissa is, I assume, doing only for Fibrofield adult film actor. There's always a chance that she'll go down the full hardcore route, which won't change anything for her, and Idubbbz might get an extra 2 or 3 subs, you never know. I'm quite the optimistic individual.
Now, neither one of you are qualified for real jobs, so I would like to offer you the Lolcow Universe backup plan. We'll have the Idubbbz and Anissa morning show. It'll come on right after cafe. People will donate $20 to call you a cuck and pick on you, and you'll get a percentage of that money.
I'm not going to deny, in the short term, that would be quite the lucrative offer. And yeah, even I would throw money at that. As long as he read it and says it out loud, over and over again. But I know that principles matter to some people, don't they, guys? When one cannot shelve their ego, their pride, long enough to do what is better for them and their future, even if that future is barren, they invariably end up saying, would you like fries with that? When they once used to be considered the pinnacle in their respective field. Oh, and Anissa.
I will help you pay rent.
Really and Friends super chatted $20. Idubbbz needs a show with Freshie Fresh to remind him what it's like to actually be the smartest man in the room.
Every time PPP and Andy Worski on you,
which, in case you don't follow them on Kick to find out, they do it quite a lot. They have access to more information than I could believe possible, and PPP sweats an awful lot for someone his size anyway. It's, I'd say, entertaining, but I often wonder how he manages to keep his weight up when he looks like he could be dehydrating or boiling over.
They're gonna be driving traffic to come shit on your show directly, because you won't be able to censor the donators. You won't be able to censor the chat, all right? But you're gonna be making money off of your shame. You have been doing this all the wrong way. You have been destroying your marriage, destroying your life, destroying your career, and not making a single dollar doing it. I will monetize your downfall.
Whether you like or respect Lolcow Live is entirely up to you. I personally enjoy watching this absolute tragedy that is Idubbbz's career going down the drain, because he's too proud to realize every wrong decision he's made has led the popular opinion to be, you brought this on yourself, why won't you listen to sense? No one thought, oh, you were better when you were a virgin. No, we just know that you made a choice, it's now become a bad one, and we, while you think you're supportive and being a good husband, think you need to pay the piper for it. And when you're able to bury your ego and do something that benefits both of you, which does mean being on the receiving end of a lot of criticism, so you can possibly rebuild your name, which is unlikely at this point, LolCal Live, again whether you like them or not is up to you, can be there to help you monetize that shame. You still get more views than me though, so I guess you can ignore what I have to say on this.
So think of me.
I mean,
when
if
you're
he doesn't want to do it, I would like to do a show with Anissa. I will take the Republican side of every argument and just piss her off.
I would watch that. I would watch that so hard.
Idubbbz, before you jump, before you swing, before you call it quits, remember, we're here to save you.
It's like a motivational speak, but with added perks where we get to embarrass somebody, humiliate them, but not bully because they're making money from it. Is my sarcasm sign required for that part? Now, this all came about because Idubbbz has just put out a new video titled Coming Clean ... It is mostly downvoted at 17,000 dislikes to 11,000 upvotes. Many in the comments did speculate whether or not the audience mostly just hate watch, whether or not this is basically just giving PPP and Andy a money printer because new video. Others highlighting the lack of anything from Ian when it comes to child marriage, which apparently is the subject of the video. So we should probably dive into some clips of that.
Today, I'm going to be doing the thing that everyone tells you not to do, and that is feed the trolls.
It's only feeding the trolls if your information can be picked at just the right way to run counter to the information that is currently known. Yes, of course, there are going to be some black pill types, nihilists who just want to see you burn, but the vast majority don't. They're trolling you because you can't introspect. They're trolling you because you can't handle criticism. They're trolling you because you presented half-baked information. They're trolling you because you took the wrong side in a much larger argument and used GeoGuessr to think you can then speak on politics in other countries and cultures. You kind of opened the door for yourself there.
One of the more important things that I want to talk about is my relationship with Anissa. I love Anissa. I love everything about her. I've only grown to love her more with time, and a lot of people online don't see it that way.
I'm so glad I didn't feature in that, but mostly because I couldn't care less if she's a good or bad influence for you. I will admit, since being together, there has been a marketable change in who you are, and not only in who you are, but what you present as content, allowing the influence of others to dictate the kind of person you are, which would imply somehow without a woman in your life you were an edgy boy? Bit late to the party, but okay. I assume because of your deep and immense love that grows day by day, you're going to fob off many of the concerns people have about the kind of man you are because of who your wife is.
For me, it's very obvious. I thought more people would be able to catch on. I am quiet, stoic, not talkative. She is the opposite of that. She is loud, very talkative, social. People struggle to understand that dynamic, I think, especially me being a person who has made a career of talking online.
I think you might be a misunderstanding here. People don't deny you're a quiet person. People also don't deny she's a vocal person. In fact, her being a vocal person in the way that she is a problem. You being quiet or stoic, if anything, just leans into the cuck side of things. The good sign of a relationship is being able to tell your partner from time to time to shut up. Both people should be able to do that to each other when they're going too far. And Anissa has repeatedly gone too far, and you have said nothing. You've just blindly supported under the guise of intense love, which then leans into the argument that there is no such thing as intense love when you're holding the camera while she does OnlyFans.
So yes, Anissa will oftentimes, like in many relationships, be the more talkative one.
Based on all the information that's come out from Creator Clash and every other aspect of yours lives when you're getting involved in things publicly or not, toxic is more appropriate to talkative. Because if there's ever a shitty person in a relationship, she is definitely it. And you're just letting it go, under the guise of talkative.
We've been together for nearly 10 years, and all of it has been online for the public to see, and there are still people accusing her of cheating, accusing me of being in an abusive relationship. None of this is true, and there is no evidence for any of this except, like, I guess body language experts coming on and being like, Idubbbz is being stoic here, therefore he's in hell.
The next part you're about to show, I'm gonna give you fair warning, not my audience, but Idubbbz. would lead me to believe you watch these creators to get this clip. You could claim Discord or some of your fans or Discord peoples have looked into this, right? You can claim it, that's fine. However, it will not help your argument nor your position. And the reuse of the word stoic, that's cute, by the way.
Okay, hang on. Watch the change there. Watch the change there.
I don't know what the that was. I have never gotten...
Look at Ian in this moment. Oh my god!
Like, he looks sad. No, he is disgusted at her. He's depressed. He's so disgusted
working
by this.
on...
He looks disgusted with this.
He looks... Using Kino Casino, I know for a sarcastic point of body expert peoples, that's it, expression, whatever it was called you said earlier and I've already forgotten, is like me relying on WebMD to diagnose cancer, or going to Syria for neurosurgery, or calling a police officer a muppet in the United Kingdom. I get the point you want to make, a sarcastic, deflective point, but you have just given the Kino Casino so much more ammunition against you because you can't take on board an ounce of the criticism, much of which is valid, not those clips that were cherry-picked. Much of the criticism on YouTube, more notably, is quite valid to simply accept that not everything is as good as you think it is. You're too proud to accept that.
So uncomfortable. He's like, should I be here? He looks so uncomfortable. Look at this guy's body language. He doesn't want to be there.
Look how miserable he looks. Dude, he looks miserable. Dude, he looks like he wants to kill himself.
When they put Hassan on the screen with Idubbbz, no lie, my first thought was, are we talking about Idubbbz being uncomfortable or Hassan? Because when they did the stream together, Hassan looked uncomfortable every time Idubbbz spoke. There were clips doing their rounds when Idubbbz made the realization certain like geopolitical points came up in discussion, and it was like when Hassan was talking, Idubbbz looked like he came to the realization Hassan was in the wrong, but didn't say anything because, much like with his wife, he doesn't know how to speak up.
I mean, I kind of want to kill myself now. Okay, so they're not a fan of the resting bitch face. All right, well, I'm not going to smile all the time, fellas. And even when I smile, you guys still, like, contort it into he's so uncomfortable or he's smiling through the pain.
So, years ago, Dankula, Count Dankula, Lord Count Dankula, made a video to you because of the change in you. Many of his points of criticism having, I believe, spoken to you once or twice. His points of criticism towards you were your feeding of the trolls, not being able to handle that kind of negativity, and a clear change in personality that makes you look like the very thing you used to chastise. You used to make jokes at. Now, of course, people change, they grow and evolve into new forms. Idubbbz, though, went down to B-dubs. B for beta, you're welcome. You watching and then using these clips from those that troll you, as you yourself have referenced them as such, to make wider sarcastic points as coping mechanisms does nothing to dissuade the belief they have when you could instead be a bit more considered and measured. You are right about the resting bitch face, but you have taken all those clips out of context, not the ones of you, but them talking about you, to present your argument that they just don't know what they're talking about. These guys apparently know more about you than you're willing to admit, and your lolcow status is growing because of it.
Burn.
Oh, he's so uncomfortable. And he's smiling on his face.
What?
But inside his eyes, you can see his pain.
I'll stand by my earlier comments of using Warski and PPP to make your points. But I'm quite impressed you give them the time of day to watch the platform of Kick to observe their heavily bot-filled masterclasses.
For some reason, well, not for some reason, for the reason of sexism and people's view on OnlyFans and them just not liking Anissa, they want to push forward a narrative that she is actively and continually cheating on me. And if you listen to freaks like this guy I'm about to show, it makes sense why. They are obsessed.
Anissa wants to have sex into having sex with Anissa. I think he wants to bang Anissa. Anissa was horny and wanted to have sex with this therapist. While Anissa...
So I'm going to skip over the rest of the clips of you using Kino Casino to get to your response to that. You are probably, more than likely, and I'm going to insert this as a let's say, prediction, not going to address any claims that may have had legitimacy from other voices, but are instead going to use Kino Casino to dismiss those concerns off the bat. Because that's easier. Why make an effort when you can find an easy way out? Anything worth doing, by the way, Idubbbz, is usually difficult, like telling your wife to shut up.
What we're describing here is two grown men.
Well, that's debatable.
Who are fantasizing about a stranger and his wife and what they do in the bedroom.
You yourself have said earlier on that your relationship has been entirely on the internet for all to see. Are you at that point strangers? The answer is no. Everything about you and everything about Anissa, you two lovely Joma-type moment deal situations, has been public knowledge for some time. How you two interact with other people, how you two interact with each other, is also there for all to see. A lot of which has been shared when it came to Creator Clash, how you two handled it, how you two interacted. It's important information. Yes, okay, a lot of what the Kino Casino virgins say is inferred. Of course it is. But that's a part of sarcasm. You know, that thing you're using against them as well, that you can't seem to take from them. Additionally, a lot of what is inferred comes from your status as a cuckold and a beta male, which stems back again to Dankula's video all those years ago. All because of how defensive you got when people found out your partner had an Only Fupa Fibro failed adult film actor account.
Or don't do in the bedroom. That is creepy weirdo shit.
And here we have Idubbbz with the bull, folks. There's Idubbbz with the bull.
He's using sexualized terms to describe a picture of me and my dog. And what are we doing?
This might not be the point you think it is, because you're using the wrong people to make it. And what they're saying, it's called mockery. It's the very thing you built your entire channel with, because you were very much the excellence of execution when you did make good content, that is. You were also a vastly superior moral arbiter when it came to making good points about behaviors and hypocrisies and double standards, all of which is gone with your reputation. If the majority of your views now come from hate watchers, you should take advantage of it. You should do a show with the Kino Casino, to be honest, because that would be hilarious.
So many people will tell Anissa and I of just like, don't feed into the hate. And it's like, okay, we're going to post some normal stuff. Anissa posts just me with a picture of my dog, and this is the type of commentary we get about it.
Idubbbz with the bull. Gorgeous Gabe Plowder in the back room of the salon. 3-hour bukkake session with all of the male stylists.
What I love about this video so far is that you have provided a bountiful harvest for many a person. Yes, I'm going to do a part 2 to this if we get enough likes, by the way, guys. 500 should do it. You provided enough of a bountiful harvest, all because, what, boiling point? Kino Casino have chosen you and your wife as their vaunted lolcow. You're their piñata. In the same way Ethan Ralph is the piñata of a few others, same with Nick Fuentes as well, in fact. Hassan Piker is the vaunted lolcow for others, and so on. And before someone says, what does it make them a lolcow? Don't care, shut up. The overarching point is that is what you are to them. They're going to poke at everything you have. Your relationship, all of it is in the online space. I took no issue with the animal picture because your dog looked lovely. Looks lovely, sorry. Okay? Some people don't see it that way. And you've risen to that bait, which makes you look really brittle.
If you're curious about the hairdresser these guys are talking about, I will point you to my disgraced boxing coach, Michael Briggs. For some reason, this stupid loser and his dumb as rocks wife decided to go on the H3 podcast. They already spilled their guts. They were getting paid like $5,000 to go on this podcast.
2 things. Firstly, we did cover that podcast episode on this channel before. If I remember, I'll link it in the pinned comment. Second, it's interesting how you're so willing to insult other people's wives when their love is surely so strong and growing by the day, but you're not okay with your own wife being insulted? That's interesting.
I think they were maybe afraid that they wouldn't get the money if they didn't thoroughly trash us. So them maybe thinking that they weren't trashing us hard enough, Michael Briggs decided to invoke the name of one of his presumably friends and say that Anissa was like thirsting after him.
This is a fair use interjection. I'm glad we got to something with a bit more substance to it. It's just a shame with how you're about to handle it, because it, like the rest of this video, is quite poor.
She definitely had a big crush on one of the guys that would come in and spar with them, because anytime they would spar, she would just be super into it and watch every moment. Even if he would like beat Ian up, she'd be very into it.
For whatever it's worth, every time Michael Briggs, my disgraced boxing coach, would reference Gabe, he would always refer to him as Gorgeous Gabe.
Cute deflection. It doesn't debunk the point that your wife had a bit of a crush on someone. And it's not a massive point either, really. If you are secure and comfortable in your relationship, it's a non-point anyway. But you're being defensive. Again, you've allowed this trolling, as you've dubbed it, to overwhelm you to make this video.
I don't call him that. My wife doesn't call him that. If you have some unresolved sexual tension or fantasies, whatever the fuck it is, you need to keep that shit to yourself and not project it onto other people. I wish the best to Gabe. Michael Briggs, on the other hand, absolute creep weirdo.
Today we're going to be taking a delve into Ian Joma, the wife of Anissa Joma, because the lolcow status of Mr. Stoic is fully blossoming, and I'm thoroughly enjoying watching it unfold in real time. I know he had recently taken an autism test, but since Stoic Chronicles only clipped that very recently, we're instead going to go and look at him obsessively yet again talking about Ethan while trying to remain aloof or maintain a personality even, of aloofness or disinterest, like a quality little midget hipster.
Pedro Troll? Yeah, we got a Pedro Troll little update at one point. It's not a big update. It's just one of those things where he'll obviously have a thought. In the middle of the night, he'll have a thought about me or Anissa or many other people, and he has to voice it, you know?
As you can tell, he is highly, deeply invested in everything everyone says about him or his wife. The flippant nature and dismissive attitude and bored sound does him no favours in this. I can say with experience, by the way, Ian, if you ever hear this, bored voices don't get you very far. Being English, it's a bit of a given, so please stop culturally appropriating my superiority. Thank you.
You know, some thoughts are inside thoughts, some thoughts are thoughts for the group, but other thoughts, they just need to go on your story.
Typically, these thoughts are called intrusive thoughts, right? But that's entirely subjective as to the nature of the person who's posted and the person who sees it. So whereas a vast majority of people will see something negative towards Ian and just go, eh, Ian will see it, roll his eyes and go, nah, that's intrusive, without trying to say it because apparently he doesn't know the term.
It's really been like making me excited to do D&D. I watched Big Bang Theory update.
Bazinga.
Last episode, they were playing like a Santa or a Christmas version of D&D where they were like killing Santa or some shit. And, well, truthfully, they did a campaign. Eventually, they found Santa Claus, who was like...
There are going to be many people who have seen the Big Bang Theory, hated the Big Bang Theory, loved the Big Bang Theory, loved and hated also D&D. I don't care. I'm instead going to skip ahead so we can find the part where he has commentary that is relevant to Ethan Klein.
Am I Husk now? So the advice is basically don't listen to advice, work it out for yourself? No. It's just hard to suss through what good advice is. Because with the alleged Hank Green advice of like, you should have started 4 years ago or some shit like that. Not that he said that. Is more like, you know, it doesn't really speak to someone's soul.
Okay, I saw this in passing while sifting through the video. Firstly, there's no such thing as a soul. You're welcome. Second, how one sifts through what is or is not and determines what then becomes good or bad advice is entirely subjective on the individual. You're trying to latch onto emotive or humanity as a way of saying that only your values are the right values in the context of sifting through good and bad advice. How incredibly tragic and lacking in all critical thinking.
Also, okay, here's some more advice. Therapy. Because therapy, it does so much more than like, I'm feeling sad. It literally is, it improves every measurable aspect of your life, or not even measurable aspect.
Therapy does help people. That's the point of it. It is supposed to help you on your path towards improvement. The reasons for being in therapy in the first place, though, are important, and making sure there are enough people that can afford it, or those that offer the service, is another aspect entirely. Not all of us have gone through making as much money as you had at one point, and then lost it. I wonder if you'll get like a boogie moment situation type deal, where everyone finds out just how much money you had at one point and threw away because of ideals that your husband-wife told you to obey.
Let me set this up. I genuinely don't like... I want to pretend that this guy doesn't exist, to be honest. But he frequently will say this phrase very frequently. This is Ethan Klein, by the way. I don't want to obscure it.
As if it wasn't apparent to all of us when you're on, I think, Reddit. Using Reddit to cite things to own the person you claim to not want to talk about but need to talk about to generate additional interest so that you can keep this gravy train going is like citing the dying Wikipedia for academic purposes.
Ethan Klein, he loves saying that people are accusing him of hallucinating anti-Semitism. And it's like, well, I never thought that. But the more I see shit like this, the more I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you can't just watch a baseball game without thinking anti-Semitic thoughts, Ethan Klein.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to Google this person, Enrique Hernandez, the baseball player that is. I will admit, it's a weaker one from Ethan, but then based on half the stuff they've done supporting Palestine, I'm not surprised Ethan has done this given opportunity. Don't forget here, Ian and Nisa, you took a side. You took a side, and you're on the wrong side of history, I might add, and look like absolute tools in the process. That's hardly going to change because of your stance. You were, after all, the guy with the swastika sword in his hands, kneeling in front of, I believe, Hassan, surrounded by his orbiters.
Like, can you just enjoy baseball and not make people's names into slurs, you weirdo?
You are forgetting, Ian, yet again. Ethan Klein has said he is going to go after for the rest of your time on the internet. He is not going to stop because of what you and your wife did to him. Don't be surprised when these are thrown at you. And since I don't know how to pronounce the first word without it seeming like a slur, which could get me in trouble with YouTube, I'm just going to use the name Enrique. But if you want to tell me the pronunciation in the comments of his nickname, do let me know. But if it's the same as the slur, don't bother. Just tell me, by the way, it's pronounced the same way as the slur.
Yeah, it's so blatant. It's weird.
Is it more or less weird than betraying your friend, his wife, throwing them under the bus, condoning doxing, condoning swatting, condoning CPS, justifying all of it because your wife told you to change ideology, belief system? Because I would argue this is just a way of goading you, which has worked, by the way, because you're now addressing it on a stream, which means free content for the H3 podcast. As if they haven't had enough to deal with this week with Cruel World Happy Mind's absolutely moronic take. Response of which, when they sat with Ethan Klein, I say sat with, via a call, I'm going to go through the entire stream from the H3 podcast over on Rumble tomorrow as a exclusive. If you're interested, join us. If you have premium, I have to do 5 hours of that a month, yes.
It's like, it's Kike Hernandez? Yeah. Alright, dude. This was one to stay in the drafts. No reason to post it.
First, thank you for the pronunciation because I didn't know for certain. Especially when I googled it, it just gave me the word as the slur. But thank you, Google, for failing me. Second, I've already given you the reason why you betrayed Klein. He will never let you or your husband-wife go. And for as long as you go to Reddit to get this information, you are as much a part of the problem when it comes to giving this fuel as Ethan is for putting it out there in the first place. Eventually, you have to choose whether to ignore it entirely or not. Be what you can never be, the bigger man. Since that will never happen because of who you are, you have to accept the reality that you are a part of this problem.
You could ask your wife, hey, does this make sense for me to post? Oh, maybe not your wife. Maybe ask, I don't know, maybe text Dan. and be like, hey, is this epic and funny? It's not? Oh, okay. It makes me look like a weirdo? Oh, okay, I get it. I'll leave it in the drafts then. Maybe I'll be inspired later. Maybe there will be a way to make it funny later. Every accusation is a confession from him. That's what I'm saying. It's so strange. Get back in the drafts, Mr. Klein. That's it. Just more fucking hallucinations. You don't even want to necessarily call it a hallucination. It's literally an obsession. Like, he's obsessed with slurs. He's obsessed with, I don't know, trying to frame himself as a victim in some kind of way.
What's really impressive to me about what you are presenting as information is that you like to champion yourself as somebody that doesn't get too involved in things, or doesn't look at this, yet simultaneously you apparently are a font of it. You've taken in so much, you can assert so much because you've taken in so much, yet you don't want him, Ethan, to comment on you. You're trying to gatekeep what he should or should not say to you, argue that perhaps you should be left on your own, yet when you're on your own, you're on Reddit. Grow up. Or doing what your husband, wife, tells you to do. This all reeks of, please sir, can I have some more?
No, you're not a victim. You're a perp. Because the thing is, no one's asking this guy for this content. He literally fashioned that himself in his brain.
You do realize he's at the stage in his career where he doesn't have to really do what his audience tells them, right? Also, they pretty much still watch him because he does what he wants. And because bashing you, and many others, again, Cruel World Happy Mind was a great example of it, is remarkably amusing. Although, unlike you, at least Cruel World Happy Mind had the balls to sit down and have a conversation, even if it was over the phone, or Discord, or Skype, Mumble, whatever really, vent, I don't really care where they spoke. They did. You're too much of a bitch to do it. You'd find so much resolved, and so much ground covered, you might well find that with that ground covered, the amount of effort spent just mocking you quietly from the side would dissipate a little. But I guess that comes down to whether or not your wife, husband, wife, whatever they are, gives you permission to take the strap-on out of your arse long enough to do so. Have a conversation, that is.
Maybe it's hard, right? Because, like, I think a lot of this and I said it in my content cop, right? Like, a lot of this is coming directly from his Reddit. Like, you're not a fan of mine if you're just posting like a bunch of hate that I'm getting.
I was wondering how long it would take for him to mention the content cop he's done, which is still doing quite well. 7.4 million views, just about majority likes, although when you have hundreds of thousands of downvotes, is it really a success? Someone in the comments of that even pointed towards Ethan's content nuke on Hassan only having half the views. I would argue, based on the like to dislike and the reach of Incline's content, he's done quite well. Also, he doesn't really have to, unlike Ian, make these kind of views. He really doesn't. He has no need to do that these days. But he was right to make the content nuke on Hassan, regardless of what people think of him in my comments, whether you like him or not. These videos have to exist in the same way Idubbbz's content comp had to happen as well, because then it shows the kind of people these creators are. Whether you agree or disagree, that's up to you. Generally, I think Ian's content comp was shite, quite frankly. It really was, and it showed with the friendship we knew that existed before, where the line in the sand for him really existed, and that the friendship was not real, and that he, like every other creator, majority anyway, at least 99%, is nothing more than a snake that follows whatever trend is good enough to pay his bills. Recession must have hit him pretty hard. Well, recession being from his own content being crap, says the guy whose channel was dying anyway.
Or posting things that are like going to like trigger me or get me like, I don't know, stuck on a topic. I don't like that.
Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. Whether it triggers you or not, bothering you at the same time, is irrelevant. To you anyway. In the context of those that seek to trigger you, it's the best thing ever. Why? Because you're Ian. At one point you yourself were quite an accomplished troll type. To see you unable or incapable of taking some of the very banter you used to dish out on a regular is hilarious.
Like, I wouldn't like if my entire subreddit was basically just talking about Pedro troll. It's not good for you.
capri khaki sweat cargo all pants. Fuck. Make it big.
Quit being mean to me on Instagram.
Yes, well, as is well established within the internet rules, it is quite common for the internet itself to suddenly decide upon being told to stop being mean to you, to stop being mean to you. I feel like you're setting yourself up to be further ridiculed. I'm okay with it. Why? Because it's the internet. Everyone gets picked on by someone at some point. Some more than others, mostly because they deserve it. Like yourselves.
I don't know if that's gonna work. Maybe that'll work. Yeah. You needed to furrow your brow a little bit more. Yeah, that's the move. That's intimidation.
Well, you've certainly told Ethan Klein to stop. Congratulations. You did so well. I couldn't be more proud of you. As far as the year of 2025 goes, it's been a pretty bad year for Ian. He believes it's a reset to a brighter future. Really, he's chosen a political line that his wife has approved for him, under the guise of, but our love gets stronger every day. He has changed the fundamental of who Idubbbz really was, and he has now become a villain, whereas before he was seen as the hero, the one calling everyone out indiscriminately, giving you an absolute pasting. Now, he can barely string a sentence together. Now, he'll more than likely attribute that to something like CTE. Really, it's because he's a bish. He is very defensive, and when he streams, if you are known to him even vaguely, you will be banned. So virtually every commentary channel that has said anything ill towards him is banned in his Twitch chat. Why he doesn't stream to YouTube as well is a mystery to me, but he does believe in some monopolies way. I bet he has an iPhone, doesn't he? While I would hope he and his wife do better in 2026, it is my firm belief they will continue down this path until they are proven demonstrably, definitively proven wrong about something they don't really understand, which is virtually everything at this point.